So we got Dr. Michael Trayford with Apex Brain Centers. Is that center or centers?
Centers.
Centers. Okay. So you have multiple clinics.
Yeah, we're looking to open up something in South Carolina, but we do virtual consulting all over the world at this point.
Okay. Do you want to go in depth a little bit about what you guys do?
Yeah. I mean, we provide comprehensive neurological rehabilitation for primarily traumatic brain injury, but associated things like cognitive impairment, learning and behavioral issues. So getting into OCD, PTSD, anxiety, things like that. We're doing metabolic, physical, neurological, and cognitive rehabilitation. So people come in, they fly in, they see us. Usually about 85% of our folks are from out of state, out of country. So they come in for a week or two or three. And we're working with them many hours a day, day after day, adhering to the principles of neuroplasticity that, if you do something over and over and over, you get better at it. Just like, fighting or learning or anything, the more you do it, the better you get.
Sure. And you're a certified chiropractic as well, right? And neurologist and
Yeah.
neurofeedback specialist with 20 plus years of experience.
Oh yeah. I can't believe it's been going on 25 years at this point. But yeah, board certified chiropractic neurologist, been board certified in neurofeedback for a long time as well. And we just incorporate that with many other modalities we use here in the clinic.
And you also, I guess you got a doctorate at Northeast College of Health Sciences.
So I'm actually a graduate of New York Chiropractic College, and then my board certification in neurology is the American Chiropractic Neurology Board.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm going through all these notes I have here. 'Cause my co-host, we have it where it's set up where I'll say a question and he'll do his part.
No
I was
worries.
looking over I
Good.
was looking over his stuff. So previously, not long ago, I guess you've been working with Matt Hughes.
Yeah, it's been for my goodness, probably about 3+ years now. With his type of injury, and we are allowed to talk about this. Many cases we can't divulge information, but he allows us to talk about his case. And yeah, with his type of injury, when you're in a truck and get hit by a train and have the kind of brain injury he did, aside from everything that happened in fighting, it takes years to overcome these things. And people are never the same, but he's come a long, long way.
And did he reach out to you?
I forget how we met. I think it was his friend Stephanie, I believe she found us and reached out. And then next thing you know, they were down here from Illinois, and he spent 2 weeks here the first time, and then he spent another 2 weeks, and then a week after that. And then hopefully we'll be seeing him again in 2024 at some point.
Yeah, see, he's made several posts about going. I remember I was up there in Nashville not long ago when I got to see him. But anyways, he's made several posts about how everything he's been doing at your clinic's been helping. So that's pretty cool to see. He's came a long way for sure.
Yeah, it's
Um, and you,
wild. After the first time he was here, he was never, after his big injury, he was never able to do simple things like navigate an airport. And the first time he was here, he actually flew home by himself. So that was a huge leap for him. Just being able to read all the signs and do all the things that it takes being an airport, things we take for granted. You just go in and get your tickets, jump on a plane. But for somebody who's had a brain injury, that can be incredibly overwhelming and dehumanizing. And but he's back at it.
for sure, I bet. And like I say, he looks like he's doing great. And you were just at his 50th birthday party, weren't you?
Yeah, that was a trip. It was great. It was a barn in Marine, Illinois, and it was awesome to be there to celebrate with him because he's overcome so much. For everything he's done in the ring, and most people would agree at this point, pales in comparison to what he's done from his recovery standpoint after his accident. Yeah.
And there was tons of legends there. I saw Jens Pulver was there. Did you get
Yeah.
a chance to talk to Dan Lambert from American Top Team?
No, he actually oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. I did actually talk with him because there's an outfit right here in Asheville. I realized there's an American Top Team here.
I
Yeah.
think it's over near the Asheville Airport, isn't it? Over
Yeah.
behind there.
Yeah, he did
And
a great speech and roast for Matt. It was pretty awesome.
that's cool. And then Ozzie Smith, I think
Yeah.
you got a picture of the baseball guy.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
wild. He walked in and I'm like, I know that guy from somewhere. And I just remember, it just came to me at one time. I didn't expect him to be there, but him and Matt became good friends at an event they did. They both threw out a pitch at a game one time, and they became fast friends. They lived real close to one another, and Yeah, he was one of my idols. I'm, born and bred Yankee fan, but him and Rod Carew and many others from other teams were my heroes growing up.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna change subjects a little bit. Can we talk about the laser therapy stuff that you guys do?
yeah.
So my question was, how does the laser therapy, how does that intertwine with the brain therapy? You can go in depth with that if you want.
Yeah, so laser therapy at the end of the day is a metabolic therapy, meaning it helps promote cellular functions and healing that help the neurological rehab and all the other things we do with him. So, low level laser has been proven to produce ATP or energy in cells. If you've heard of the mitochondria in the cells, the energy producers in the cells, different wavelengths of light, green, red, violet, infrared. They can stimulate energy production in cells. So that just helps cells become more active, communicate more effectively with one another, but also, inflammation reduction, increased blood flow, decrease inflammation, all the other health benefits that come with it. And it really just helps prime a brain to get more effective rehabilitation. And also, too, we do what we call stacking or layering of therapies. So most rehabilitation, you tweak your knee. What do? You go for physical therapy, and you work in an approach where they work the knee. So it's what we call a bottom up approach. You're working with the body to essentially impact the brain so you can control that knee better. What we do is, for example, that knee. If you're working out the knee, we can put the laser on the parts of the brain that are related to that leg function. So we're working top down and bottom up. So it becomes more effective.
Gotcha. And I guess you use the laser therapy of all of your clients, or is it just case specific?
Everybody. Yeah. I mean, there's not a person on the planet that couldn't benefit from laser therapy. Even our peak performers, we see some Olympic athletes and others. And, laser is such a huge, huge tool in the toolbox for them. Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. I think I've seen, nowadays you kind of see where the science has kind of gotten to athletes and all these facilities they go to. They all use that red laser therapy now, it looks like.
Big
So
time. Yeah. A lot of people using LED, and there's a lot of controversy over, LED versus laser, and people try to equate the two, but there's big differences. So, when you're in terms of low level laser, cost can be a barrier because lasers are quite expensive compared to LED lights. And, there are benefits of both, but for what we're doing and what we're rehabilitating, laser is an absolute must have. Yeah.
awesome. And I was also going to ask you this. What are some of the injuries most common you see with the combat sports athletes, whether they're fighters or football players or even, people, service members that come back from war, from IED explosions?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
we're focused on brain injury, so we're seeing other things, with that when they come in. But if somebody comes to us and says, "Oh, I've got a knee injury," it's not necessarily something we'd work with because there's lots of other people out there that can work with that. We're so specialized in what we do with that. But at the end of the day, we're seeing everything. We were just working with. Again, we're allowed to talk about Shaq Thompson from the Panthers for some stuff he had going on prior to his horrible injury this season. But yeah, there's just any type of injury. Usually it's the ligaments, the tendons, the meniscus, things like that.
is there any specific neck muscle exercises that you recommend any of your clients do? I was just curious about that.
No, that's huge. We actually work with a lot of, believe it or not, female soccer players are some of the highest rates of concussion, and concussion, which most people aren't aware of, can be caused not just by, a blow to the head, can be caused by whiplash injuries. And the correlation has been drawn that women just don't have the neck strength that men have. So,
Hmm.
you can have an NFL linebacker that's taken 20, 30, 40 hits a game or practice, and they may not have a concussion because their necks are just massive in comparison. And you have a girl on the field or a woman on the field who heads a ball and then she has a significant concussion, not because the ball hitting the head, but because of that whiplash injury. So, we are working with a lot of soccer coaches. We have some private and school-based soccer coaches we work with, and most of them do not work on neck strengthening because it's all about skills and drills. They've got to become more proficient at what they do. But the fact is, if you strengthen your neck, you decrease your rate of concussion significantly. So, we work a lot with, isometric, isotonic types of exercises, getting into, therabands tied around the head and doing different lateral flexion exercises, rotation exercises, flexion and extension exercises. There's all kinds of devices out there now, but it doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It's just about working all ranges of motion in that neck.
Have you seen that iron neck? I don't know. You probably know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
that kind of tube that goes around the head. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
saw
pretty
Joe. Yeah,
pretty awesome.
Joe Rogan was talking about that not long ago, and not a bunch of other guys too.
Yeah.
I think Michael Chandler as well from the UFC.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff out there. And at the pro level, they get that stuff. So, these guys, and women are really, they're working that stuff. But unfortunately, at the high school level, even at the collegiate level, they're just not dealing with that. That's why the incidence of concussions is so high.
Hmm. And also, what about chiropractic work? Do you add that in?
We do. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I started way back. And it's an integral part of things, because at the end of the day, adjustments or manipulations are not just for, popping a joint and getting some relief and feeling good. It's about, it's a neurological input, and you can have significant impact on the brain with certain types of adjustments. So, we use adjustments to really complement everything we're doing from a rehab standpoint. And particularly too, this is huge with athletes, especially with people like Matt that have had significant brain injuries. The muscles that move our eyes through our inner ear, balance, and vestibular systems are tied to our neck muscles. So at the end of the day, if I just look at something, turn my head, I've activated my eye muscles, my inner ears, and my neck. So if we don't rehabilitate all those systems, we're missing the boat. So chiropractic adjustment will help with that connection between the eye muscles, the inner ears, and the neck muscles. So we just make sure we combine everything so that people can really get the lasting impacts, not just some temporary relief.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And also, I was watching one of your seminars, and you were talking about, like, I guess you were talking about a bunch of things, but smoking being a large factor in fatalities. Then you also brought up car wrecks and talked about witness and a bunch of others like addictive stuff. Do you remember which seminar I'm talking about?
Oh man, I've done so many. I'm not sure which one, but it's in there for sure.
But you were talking about, I was going to ask, what does all that stuff do to the brain? You were talking about how that's a major impact and causing decline in brain activity.
So you're talking about like smoking in general, or yeah,
Everything, smoking,
yeah. I mean,
car wrecks,
yeah,
addictive
we
behaviors.
yeah. If you
Um,
look at just activities of daily living, we focus heavily with people on sleep, exercise, stress management. What are they eating? What kind of environment are they in? Toxic environments, both physically, mentally, and otherwise. Everything impacts your health. So you have to address all these things. Unfortunately, the healthcare system we're in, if you got a mental health problem, you go over here. If you got a, if you got a pain problem, you go over there. Everybody's, goes into their silo, but we try to address everything at one point, or at one time, or simultaneously, so that we can have the greatest impact with people. And, car wrecks and all, yeah, we certainly see a lot of trauma, car wrecks, and, slip and falls, hits to the head, even getting into, near fatal drownings and things like that. But yeah, just people managing their risks is incredibly important for preserving their health. And we don't often think about that when we're younger, but as we get older, we sure as heck wish we didn't do some of the things we did when we were growing up.
oh, definitely. And you also brought up recovery programs across the country. What do you think their current What's your opinion on their current strategy with trying to help people with addictive behaviors? I know you brought that up a little bit.
Yeah, we work with a lot of recovery programs. We get referrals out of many programs locally and otherwise, that especially when there's connections to head injury, which most people with addictive and compulsive behaviors, whether it's substances or risk-taking behaviors, they have head injuries. It just comes with the territory. So, recovery programs, if you're speaking specifically to addiction, they're heavily outdated. The same processes and procedures have been in play for the better part of 100 years. And, brains are changing, life is changing, everything is changing, and we need to keep up with the times. So, in my opinion, what we see and what we hear from a lot of the mental health professionals that we work with is that their jobs become easier when we can do the work that we do, because the fact is, when people are going for addiction recovery, they're going to residential programs or partial hospitalization programs, intensive outpatient programs. It's largely counseling based, therapy based, which is important. But the fact is, you can't get through to somebody who's had head injuries on top of brain damage from substance use and all those things. So you have to rehabilitate the brain. If you don't rehabilitate the brain, you're missing the boat.
For sure. And I agree with you too. You brought up about brain-based strategies. They need to be kind of involved more with those programs. And I mean, even speaking from when I was a police officer, I seen the methadone clinics, how they operated, and I agree. I think they're outdated. I don't think they're really doing too much for people.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that go to them, they don't even they admit, they say, I mean, they know it's not working for them.
And it's a revolving door. Unfortunately, it's become a business like many others. And I'm generalizing right now, but the fact is, there's a lot of programs out there that there's a certain amount of job security involved. They have beds to fill and things like that. So, the programs are too short, in my opinion. If you have somebody that has severe addiction, if they're not in a program for 6, 8, 10 months, it's too short. And most people in these programs are in there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 if they're lucky. And there's no way you can get clean for that period of time, but you're not going to get better.
No, I agree with you. Do you have your own podcast too?
I do. It's funny. I was just talking about that today. I haven't done a podcast in a long time. I did 350 or so episodes, and it was received really well. But life gets in the way, and practice and kids and all those things. So I'm going to be dusting it off and starting that back up again.
Okay, cool. Where you're in the office, I'm assuming right now?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Um, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I mean, what any other questions on kind of Matt or athletes or anything like that? I'm here for whatever you got.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk. I don't know how in depth we can get in with Matt. That was kind of what I was teetering with. I didn't know if we could talk about everything you can go in depth on kind of, everything you've done so far with Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, certainly a lot of it was, and again, all this is out there. It's in the videos that we've done and all, but, his gait or the way he walks is one of the biggest problems he had, just being able to put one foot in front of the other. Again, things we take for granted and things that he did masterfully for many years, in the cage. But he that was his biggest challenge, really, and speech as well. But if we're talking just about the way he moves, one side of his body was impacted more than the other because of his injury. And what happened would he would put his feet on the ground, one foot would work and grip the ground like it should, and the other would just kind of sit there. So we
Hmm.
would do things, with him, with whether it's the laser therapy impacting that foot while he's standing on vibration devices. So we're kind of making these brain body connections, and having him walk on these AirPods and things like that, so he could kind of stimulate those systems that feed the brain information about balance and walking and all of that more effectively. And then we would do these things, and then we would measure again his ability to maintain balance, and he would go up 5%, 10%, 15%. And again, eventually getting to the point where he can just walk and be more stable. The good thing about somebody like Matt is his reserves, I look at it like a bank. He had a lot of money in the bank with regard to his functions prior to his injury, so that his rehabilitation was easier than somebody who was a couch potato their whole life. He had incredible balance skills and spatial awareness skills and eye movement skills and all those things that go into being one of the best fighters of all time. It just doesn't happen with genes. He had every aspect of it down pat. So
Hmm.
even though he had the injury, it was still there. The stuff was still in there somewhere. So we just have to kind of get in and unlock that potential a bit, because it's there. His injury, his brain was kind of shaken about. It's a diffuse axonal injury, as well as a traumatic brain injury. But at the end of the day, it's just a lot of neurons in his brain were just shaken up so bad, they weren't necessarily disrupted. Or, if somebody has a stroke, that part of the brain is kind of burnt out. It doesn't work anymore. In a case
Yeah.
like his, it's just hoping to find those pathways that can reconnect. And in his case, they're doing that, and they're still continuing to do that.
Yeah, I'm glad he's doing better though. I remember meeting Matt prior to his injury. That was back in might have been like 2008 at I think it was in Atlanta at the National Rifle Association. He was a part of like a hunting group doing
Yeah.
autographs, but I'm glad to see he's doing better and he's recovering well.
Yeah.
So does he plan on coming to see you more?
Yeah, yeah, he certainly is going to be back at some point or another. He's just loving life. He's a he'll be the first to say, that his theme song is, Country Boy Can Survive. And, he loves being in a town of whatever it is, 1,500, 2,000 people, and knowing everybody and helping everybody out. And that's what he does. He's part of a community, and, his level of satisfaction doing what he does for his friends and family and neighbors right now is probably far greater than, satisfaction he got in the ring.
For sure.
Yeah.
And can you talk about any of the other athletes that you kind of monitor and they come check you out at the clinic? And what about the Panther player you were talking about?
Oh yeah, Shaq Thompson. Yeah, he came in. It was fairly short duration. We started seeing him right before he broke his fibula that first or second game. I can't remember what it was. But we were working with more on what we call proprioceptive issues, just his brain understanding his body. I mean, these athletes are just formidable humans. They're at such a high level, physically, mentally, and otherwise. So, anything we can do to enhance or promote that, the better off they are on the field, for sure. And especially somebody like Shaq, I've got a special place for longevity in sports, helping people stay on the field longer or in the cage longer or whatever it is. And we're seeing that more and more. You look at the Tom Brady's and the Steph Curry's and people like that. These are people that were well past their prime, producing at levels that nobody thought they could ever produce at. Because what do? They exercise, the real estate between the ears, and clearly they're very well conditioned and physically fit. But they understand their longevity and performance is largely due to how well their brain is serving them. And so yeah, we do that with anybody we treat, whether it's a rodeo rider or we have Manny Mitchell is another guy we work with, the Olympic sprinter that broke his leg in the London Olympics, and they still wound up getting a silver medal in the men's 4x4 relay. And he actually just converted to again, someone that would be considered past his prime. Don't ever let him hear no, I said that. But just how it goes in sports. But now what did he do? He just transitioned to bobsled. They recruit high-level sprinters to push those sleds and get them down that ice faster. And he just got his second team now. So he's going to be in the Olympics in 2026 for the U.S. bobsled team on the 4 and the 2 bobsled. So now he's instead of sprinting at amazing speeds, he's going to be flying down an ice mountain at 90 miles an hour kind of thing. But it's all about this. It's all about the brain, his physical body. He's got that taken care of. We don't have to deal with any of that. He's got all his people to work on that. But we just help the mental real estate there.
Do you think with the modern day health science stuff, do you think it's possible with people like Matt's case to get him fully 100% back to where they were at down the road?
In some cases, we see that. A lot of people after severe traumatic brain injury, or we always say they're never going to be the same. But getting somebody like that back, into, I mean, clearly he's sparring and doing things all the time and fighting and teaching, and but to get them into that level they were at prior is, it's a long stretch. But we always hold out hope, but it has to be realistic hope. The fact is, the conventional healthcare establishment, they say, people like Matt, we hear this every single day when somebody's had a severe brain injury like he has. These people have been told, number one, or their families, they're not going to live. They're not, pull the plug. They're not going to live. They're just going to be a burden on you and society. They're not going to walk. They're not going to talk. And a lot of these people start to break all those barriers. So for those people, the sky is essentially the limit. And people like Matt, he won't quit working until the day he takes his last breath. So, he's going to get better and better. Is that going to be full recovery? Probably not, because there are certain parts of the brain that have been injured to an extent that it might not allow that. But, again, we don't stop going until we get to as far as we think we can get.
Yeah, and some recovery is better than no recovery. So, I mean, that's what matters.
Absolutely.
And what I'm hoping is with this video, maybe we could get some more clients to come visit you. I know we just started this early, I guess I would say February of this year. But I have a lot of fighters that follow us, so maybe they'll reach out and maybe they're going through some stuff.
We've worked with a number of MMA, UFC. A lot of them we have to keep those names under wraps, but it's a brutal sport. It really is. I used to be a huge fight fan, and being at this so long and seeing what I see every day, it's hard for me to watch now. It really is, just because of what happens. And it's a very different time too. You look at fighters like Matt. I look at some of his old videos, and Matt was the type of guy when he would put somebody out, he would hurt somebody. He'd be the first guy to be right down there on their chest to make sure they were okay. And things have changed. It's a much more vindictive sport, and there's a lot of it. A lot of it is show and all that. I get it, but at the end of the day, there was and I don't want to be one of those, the good old days, the way it was, but there was camaraderie, there was caring, there was, things that went on that I'm just not seeing now. And
it's changed for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I still get pulled in. I've got a high school friend that was heavyweight champ of the world in boxing. And, I just, we're drawn to these sports as humans. We are. I get it, and I still watch it, but it gets harder for me as the years go on.
That makes sense. You should have saw there was a fight this past weekend. The referee, he let it go way too long. I could probably send you the link after this, but you doing what you're doing, you'd probably think it was pretty bad. Just me watching it, I was like, man, they should have stopped that probably about 30 seconds ago.
And I think at this day and age too, there's a level of awareness, whether it's football or fighting or whatever. Most people this day and age should know the risks going in because of all the stuff on CTE and everything like that. Repetitive head injuries. So they're taking that risk, be it calculated or not.
For sure,
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
definitely. Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I appreciate you guys doing this, and this is it's a great outlet what you guys are doing.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think we covered a bunch of stuff. What we usually do is we make clips for like a week before we post the full video on YouTube. So I'll do that, and I'll send you all the clips if you want to share them to your story or not.
Sounds good.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem, man. Have a good night. All right.
You too. Take care.
All right.